Morning, students. So I'm back with the next lecture, lecture number 8. Again, students, lot of you are giving your comments, but still, not many of you are going through the slides, and a few of you only are commenting on the presentation. So please make sure that you just view the slides and comment on the presentations. Secondly, please do not forget, side by side, keep preparing your assignments and submit on the given email ID. So, students, we are going to start our next lecture, lecture number 8, that is from the same chapter, Computer Networks. As I've told you, that it is a very long chapter and will take around two or uh, uh, more lectures for the completion of this chapter. Now, the topic that we are going to take up today is the mobile processors. As we have studied about the wireless computing, about the wireless technology, 3G, 4G, and all these techniques. So now we are going to discuss about the mobile processors. However, this topic was in our 11th class syllabus also, but still, because it's in our 12th class syllabus, so we need to refresh all these topics that we have covered in the 11th class also. Now, the performance of your mobile is influenced by many factors, including the operating system, manufacturer, wireless carrier. But there is one essential and often looked element that's largely responsible for the speed, efficiency, and battery life of your smartphone. That is the processor. So, students, before buying any mobile, uh, generally, what people do is that they look at the amount of RAM in the mobile, then amount of internal storage, and the camera quality of the mobile. But the actual performance of the mobile is rendered by the processor, because everything, whether it's your camera, whether it's your internet, or every function of the mobile is concerned with the mobile processor only. So there are various small processors, microprocessors, which are in the mobiles, motherboard, which give you all the services which are rendered by the mobile. So we are going to study about these mobile processors, uh, which are used for different functions of the mobile. Now, first of all, the mobile processor. The processor is the central hub of smartphone. So any processor, like your computers also, the CPU is the uh, you know uh, centrally controlling power of the mobile. It receives and executes every command, performing billions of calculations per second. So as we know that the processors, they are used for the execution of whatever the commands are given by the user of the mobile, as in the case of computers also. The effectiveness of processor directly affects every application you run. So the execution of commands, the execution of apps and the other functions is quite dependent on the effectiveness or the quality of the processor. Now, the speed of the processor is judged, or the unit of the speed of the mobile processor or the computer processor is measured in bpis, uh, that is billions of instructions per second. So in the mobile processors, it is the speed is mips, that is millions of instructions per second. and if anything goes wrong, that means that the processor is not working effectively. So when you do something more complex like playing an online multiplayer game with 3D intensive graphics or capturing 1080 pixels video, the load put on processor can immense. So whenever we are performing a very complex, work on the mobile, like downloading something, like playing some 3D video game or something like that, then the load of the processor increases. The ability of the processor to coordinate if efficient communication between all its components, the modern graphics and multimedia engines, it is essential to smooth operations. So the main role of the processor is to coordinate between all the functionalities or the operations of the applications or the hardware which are connected to the mobile. Now if the whole you know focus is given on a particular thing, supposingly you are giving you are playing a 3D game or you are downloading something, if the whole of the processor is busy in on that particular function only, then all the things other than this task which you have given to the mobile CPU, they may lack and they may not work. The CPU, the GPU, audio, video engine, connectivity features like GPS, Wi-Fi, FM, and 3G, 4G modem are the major components of a processor, of a mobile processor that control the operation of some of the most powerful and power efficient smartphones. So the processor is the main thing or the main hardware which control the efficient functioning of all the components which are attached to the mobile phones. Now the components of mobile processor. Now how many components do we have in a mobile processor? The very first component that we have is the central processing unit. Now central processing, as we know, as we have studied earlier also, that the CPU is the brain of the computer, and therefore the CPU is the brain of the smartphone also. The CPU receives commands, makes instant calculations, and sends signals throughout your device. So the CPU is responsible for receiving the commands and sending the signals to execute those commands through various devices which are connected to your smartphone. There are multiple ways to gauge the performance of a CPU besides checking the gigahertz speed of the or the number of CPU cores. Now there are many ways in which you can judge the efficiency of a CPU. Sometimes we check the clock speed of the CPU, which is in terms of gigahertz, and sometimes we check the cores of the smartphone, that is dual core or quad core, octa core, hexa core, and something like that. One of the most important ways to gauge performance is by looking at its supporting cast. In the past, the CPU handled the visuals that were sent to the screen in addition to its other duties, but the demands of high quality graphics led to the development of another component to lighten its load, the GPU. Now earlier processors, the CPU was responsible for rendering the effectiveness to the graphics of the mobile computer, or you can say the smartphone. But nowadays, looking at the uh, you know uh, graphics and the applications that are using the graphics, now we have a separate components beside the CPU, which is the graphics processing unit or the GPU. Now GPU or the graphics processing unit. Now the GPU assists the CPU by handling the visuals, particularly the kind that are delivered on games and other graphically rich applications. So the applications which require a high quality of graphics like 3D games and some other apps, they are handled by the graphics processing unit. And this decreases the load on the central processing unit, uh, um, and because of this the CPU is able to work efficiently on the other applications and other tasks which are allocated to him. And integrated GPU is designed so video won't stutter, photo edits will appear more quickly, and fast moving objects won't appear pixelated. So the main advantage of using a GPU is that when we are working with the graphics, so we are not able to see the graphics in something like stuttering. That means they are shattered or into pieces, and they are and whatever photo edits that we do, or with the help of our there are many apps which are used for edition, for editing of the photographs or the pics. uh, we can get the edited pic very quickly, and the objects that are moving, to capture the objects that are moving, they can be seen without any breakage or when any loss of motion, and that is just because of the help of the GPU. The next main feature of the mobile processor is the camera of the smartphone. It is also known as camera ISP, that is image signal processor. So it is also a processor which is used to interpret the image which is taken from outside, and and it is used to capture the image as well as to store them onto the internal storage of the smartphone. So an integrated image signal processor provides the uh, oomph for the many of our smartphones camera functions. It is designed to deliver a tightly bound image processing package and enable an improved overall picture and video experience. So while capturing the image, the quality of your captured image depends a lot on the camera which is being used, as well as the image signal processor also, ISP also. An integrated ISP can also be invaluable when it comes to things like instant image capture, high resolution support, image stabilization, and other image enhancements. So, not only capturing the image, but the capturing of image in various motions or modes is also very difficult task, and the ISP is used, or the ISP helps us to capture these images in various motions and to give us a very clear and a quality image. The next component is the audio and video. So the audio and the video, as we know of now, we are on to the 4G technology, and so we have the facility of not only talking to a person, but rather than we have a facility for video conference as well as video chatting or calling. So all this is controlled by the audio and video processor. So a good processor will also have dedicated processing unit that handle audio and video. In a Snapdragon processor, a component called the digital signal processor, that is DSP, handles music playback and other audio processing scenarios that the CPU would otherwise have to do. The same applies to the video capture and playback, for which they are dedicated video engine designated to handle these tasks. The concept of distributing work among these areas is what makes processing so fast and efficient in a smartphone. So whatever we do with regard to the audio and video, be it listening to music, be it watching a movie over your smartphone, or talking to somebody, or video calling, all the various tasks are controlled by the audio and video processor, that is the DSP, digital signal processor. Then we have the RF transceiver and 3G 4G modem. So radio transceiver is the main part of the uh, you know mobile or smartphone, which receives the signals from the environment and converts it into digital form, and that is the work of the modem, as we have studied earlier also. And the same signals are sent in both the directions, that means receive and sending the signals. So the RFT, which is the radio frequency transceiver, and the modems are used to to communicate or telecommunicate with anybody through this smartphone. Now we have a number of processors which are very popular, and the cost of the mobile phone always depends on the processor itself. So the main costliest, we can say, component in a mobile or a smartphone is the uh, you know uh, processor only. So we have various companies which manufacture these processors, and the cost of the mobile is dependent on the company or the technique or technology through which the this processor is manufactured. So the most popular variety of a processor that is widely used in Android phones is the Qualcomm Snapdragon processor. Now, the Qualcomm Snapdragon processor, which was founded in 2007, it is known for its high-tech performance SoC chip processor, which will easily handle multitasking. So it's a very advanced processor, and it has a very wide variety or the range of versions of processor, which are capable of handling the multitasking tasks very efficiently, and in a good speed, maintaining a good speed. Basically, Snapdragon is a suite of system on chip semiconductor products that were designed by Qualcomm Technology for smartphones to give high performance. So basically, it is a product of the Qualcomm technologies, and it is designed to give a very efficient performance to the smartphones. It includes multiple CPU cores, that is dual core, quad core, octa core, hexa core, the graphics processing unit, the GPS systems, etc. The Qualcomm processor is mostly embedded in devices of various systems, including Google, Android, mobile devices. So all the devices which are manufactured by Google and the Android, they come fitted with the Qualcomm Snapdragon processors. Now the second type of processor, which is quite popular, but it is not within the reach of a common man, that is the Apple processor. So the Apple smartphone processor is the fastest processor, which will be updated every year to increase its speed and performance of mobile. So the Apple technologies, they are continuously working on their processing units, and every year they provide a new processor so that they maintain the quality and speed of the processor. Then we have a little bit uh, you know uh, a processor which is in affordable, which is manufactured with affordable uh, expenses. So that is the MediaTek. So the MediaTek processor is mostly used in Chinese variant smartphones like Li Eco's, Xiaomi, Li U. MediaTek launched Helio P chipset for slim smartphones. So MediaTek is a type of processor which is used by the Chinese phones. They are the low budget phones, and the performance of this processor is quite acceptable. And the advantage of this processor is that because they are not very expensive, and therefore the smartphones having the MediaTek processors are quite uh, you know inexpensive as compared to the smartphones having Snapdragon processor. Now, the MediaTek processor is focused on optimizing the system. That means keeping the efficiency of the system and better performance and user experience. So continuously they are working on improving the quality of their processor for the efficient and performance of the processor. Now, some of the MediaTek Helio processors, the MediaTek comes with the uh, uh, you know uh, uh, the version of processor as Helio. So MediaTek Helio P90, P70, P60, P35, and P30, and many more processors are there. Manufactured by the MediaTek processors. Then we have the Exynos processor. The Exynos processor is the version of processor which is manufactured and it was developed and manufactured by the Samsung company, and they use it for their smartphones. Now these Samsung processors are the Exynos processors are octal core processors used in ARM Mali graphics uh, you know uh, type of chipset. And Exynos processor is made for mid-range as well as flagship smartphones. So the uh, uh, Samsung mobiles which are in the mid-range, that is the processor is a lot higher in performance and cost as compared to the MediaTek processors, but lower in cost and performance as compared to the Snapdragon processors. Now coming back to the internet. Now the internet is a worldwide network of computers that are connected or networked together and are using the communication method called TCP/IP. Now we have studied a lot about in the internet in our previous lectures. So internet is basically the connectivity of systems from one place to another place. The internet was developed by uh, you know the ARPA, that is Advanced Research Project Agency in the U.S. Department of Defense, and it was started with initially started uh, uh, by connecting four computers at a time. Now, some internet terms that we have to study and we should keep in mind as per our syllabus, that first of all, what is World Wide Web? The World Wide Web, or the WWW, it is a symbol or a text which you can see in your web browsers, and it is the first prefix that is used in any of the website address. So whatever address that you type, it is prefixed by the term www. So www basically is a collection of resources, pictures, sounds, multimedia on the internet that are linked and connected together. So basically www is a collection of some files, resources, pictures, multimedia files. They are interconnected, and they are provided to the end user of the internet. Now, using some software like your web browser, you can connect the internet or the www. Now, the World Wide Web was invented by Tim Berners and Lee in the CERN laboratory in March 1989. So the concept of having the www, in the in March 1989. So basically, internet is a W3 consortium. It is a body which governs the all the information and websites over the internet. Now, internet terms again. What is host? So, a computer used to transfer data on the internet is a host. Supposingly, if you are searching for some information and the information that resides in a system, so the system which stores the actual information which is being searched is known as the host. From where you can get the information is known as host. Now, web hosting. Web hosting is to provide information over the internet is known as web hosting. That is to provide a service to the end users of the internet with some information or picture or files or some any other sort of information or documents over the internet. That is web hosting. So basically, it's a server that provides you the information over the internet. Domain. Now, domain is basically it, it is a you know computer which handles a particular type of websites. That means we have a certain category of websites. It is a sort of dictionary on the internet where the category of websites is defined. For example, com is for commercial business websites, edu is for educational institutions, gov is for government agencies, mil for military organizations, net for network organization, org for organizations non-profit. So basically the domain name is used to identify the type or the category of a website or the field it is working with. Now these domain names are stored in a special server which is known as a domain names server, and the management of these domain name system is the is managed by the domain name servers. Now, the domain name system is the phone book of the internet. Humans access information online through domain names like nytimes.com or espn.com. So, any websites is affixed with a domain name, like here in this case .com or .gov, which describes the nature of websites. Now the web browser interact through Internet Protocol addresses. DNS translates domain names to IP address, so browsers can load internet resources. So with the help of these domain names, the uh, you know uh, uh, the domain name system is able to convert the website address to the IP address and locate the information or where the information has been stored. Now each device connected to the internet has a unique IP address which other machines use to find the device. Now every device, as we have studied also earlier, that every device has a unique IP address and through which the IP address is recognized. The domain name system is used to convert a human understandable website address to an IP address, be it in IPv4 or IPv6 type of IP address. Internet terms. How does DNS work? Now, the process of DNS resolution involves converting a host name such as any website address into a computer-friendly IP address. So, a computer or the host server or the search engine is basically is able to identify a website through its IP address only. So every person, every end user or the node which search for a particular website, uh, is converted to an IP address, and the information is searched over the internet through this IP address. So the location where the information is stored on the internet is searched with the help of the IP address only. And the domain name system is, as I told you, is the method which is used to convert the website address to an IP address. Now you can, as you can see in the diagram, that a person, an end user, is typing a website's name and it is going to the web server, that is the domain name server, and this is uh, you know uh, getting connected to the uh, you know server where the information is being stored. Now URL is an short form or the acronym for Uniform Resource Locator. In common terms, it is also known as web address. So the address of any server in human understandable form is known as the URL or the web address of a particular website. Now, this is used to connect a particular user to another user, because as we know that every particular computer in the world has a unique IP address. So therefore the user uh, you, this user can be connected to the other user with the help of its own IP address. So every website has its own IP address, and that IP address in human understandable form is also known as the web address of a website. Now, where is URL located? Basically, the URL is found on the top of our web browser. So, as you can see in the picture, first of all, we write here where HTTP www is written in the diagram. We can type the URL or the website address, and the browser is able to convert this address into an IP address. So students, that is all for today, and again, day after tomorrow we are going to uh, discuss some more internet terms, because if I had included those internet terms, the lecture could have turned very long. So keeping it quite short so that it is understandable by you, we end up here itself. So that's all for today. Thank you very much, and please do not forget to comment on the lecture. Thank you very much.